Oh, let me. Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Whispering Hope Weather Update. And today's an extra special uh, presentation. You know, we usually end on Thursday, weather week ends on Thursday, but just because it's an extra special and critical situation that we're in at this juncture, we have reached out, and Brother Lenard Josiah is here to tell us what's happening in our neck of the woods. We didn't know. We were in church all day, and we're not listening to any secular radio today. And so we have to bring you the news in a clean environment where you can be undisturbed. And so this afternoon, we invite you to join Mr. Lenard Josiah. What's happening, Mr. Josiah? Tell us what's going on out there.
Hey, my brother. My brother, I hope you're hearing me in amidst all this rain that I'm now having right here. I'm now having to project my voice. Are you hearing me okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm hearing you okay. As you recognize, my video is not as excellent. My video is not as excellent as it always has been. I couldn't get home to get into my studio to discuss this with you. I'm here right at the house of God, and we are just linking up together because it's raining cats and dogs here too.
Yeah, it's raining very, very profusely by me right now. I can't. The visibility has dropped off significantly. I'm not being able to hear you because the rain is so heavy. But notwithstanding, there's a lot of information that I need to get across to our viewing public right now. So let's get straight to it. Well, during the course of this morning, we had a very organized tropical cyclone. And the tropical cyclone, which is now Tropical Storm Grace, was located in a position that was poised to have a direct hit on Antigua and Barbuda. I'm sharing my screen right now so that you could see, so that I can explain exactly what's actually happening. Well, during the course of the morning hours, we were having the center of location located someplace out here, okay, which was poised to take a path over Antigua and Barbuda towards the west. Well, the aircraft went inside it this afternoon, and what they found was a very disorganized system as compared to the organization that had this morning, the organization part this afternoon. Where they pointed out there, they were able to locate what they call a broad center or broad circulation, not necessarily a generic center, because the system has fallen apart. We now cannot locate a generic center. Notwithstanding, the center, or let's say the area of broad circulation, was noted more down here. And what the National Hurricane Center is saying is that the center has either reformed from here to here, or that it has sped up towards the southwest. Now, I don't necessarily believe that it's sped up from the southwest, notwithstanding that the system is going 26 miles an hour right now. I believe it's more of a reformation. But even though that is so, they were also pointing out that the winds are out just 35 miles from the center, meaning if this is the center down here, then it means that shift that they have just pinpointed is possibly significant enough to spare Antigua any wind impacts. Now, I do not want us to be very complacent after hearing that. Why am I saying that? Because there is a lot of convection going on with the system right now. All this convection that you are getting right now, some of which are now just coming onshore of Antigua, as you can see if you're in Old Road and you are in the eastern half of Antigua, you are seeing the rains beginning to come on shore. That is because there's a lot of convection that's going on in this general location. The National Hurricane Center is suggesting that there is a possibility that the center can reform. Get this, the center can reform in this area come the next couple of hours. If that's the case, then we can be in for a little bit more wind impacts. Albeit, it has sped up. So what we were once looking at overnight into Sunday for the system to pass through, we're looking at maybe an earlier arrival time going on into this evening. My brother, this is what you call changing dynamics of the system, and we have to be prepared to give to what the nature is actually doing right now. So if you are in Oldwood, you're hearing the thunderstorms roaring ashore, is because of we have now entered the environment of the system, and we will be monitoring it very closely as we go on into tonight. What we are expecting that this particular system might be more of a rainmaker than it giving us the wind impacts, and that is all great news. So residents of our Twin Islands state should still pay attention that the hazards of rainfall still is prevalent. And if the center reforms, then we can have a little bit more of the wind impacts coming ashore. Take a look with me to what another satellite imagery that I can show you. This is what we call the infrared imagery, and you're seeing all these tall clouds popping up, all these deep clouds popping up. They are suggesting that the center is in this location down here, but all these clouds can suggest that the center can tuck itself right back underneath these clouds and move forward. It's not all over yet. I'm asking residents of our Twin Island state to be very vigilant and pay very close attention to what's going on and ensure that they are in a safe location. My brother?
So what time are we expecting this system to get near to us, over us, or outside, away from us? And which side of the island, if it's going to pass outside of us, where it's going to pass, and what can we expect and what time?
Okay, well, I do believe that Antigua is more for it than Barbuda. Okay, given the proximity of where all these clouds and the center is showing up, I believe that the impacts will be more greatly felt for Antigua as opposed to Barbuda. But yet still, Barbuda is in for some rainfall. I do believe that Montserrat also is in for some rainfall, and maybe Nevis more so than St. Kitts. But but even though that may be the case, I want us to log in on the fact that if it has sped up at 26 miles per hour, it simply means that from now going on into the evening, that the system will be with us. So look out for more this evening because of the speeding up of the system instead of overnight and into tomorrow. All now you're hearing the thunderstorms roaring, and you are feeling more of the rain ahead of the system. Let's see how long that continues to be with us, given the fact that you're seeing all these deep clouds are just moving ashore of Antigua. Going on into this evening is when I do believe that most of the activity will be felt.
Okay, and so persons who want to take a quick dash into town, what should they be cautious about? What time of movements should they ensure that they're back in their homes to avoid the flying debris and the wind that will come with it?
Yeah.
We know it's not a one, two, but
yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely. Yeah, it's definitely not a hurricane. But here is this. I would not necessarily advise at this stage venturing out too much because of the potential for heavy rainfall, some of which can lead to flooding in some general locations, etc. So maybe now is not the best time for you to be venturing out to go to look for things to buy, etc. I'm again, because of the fact that most of the convection is now roaring ashore, the rainfall is going to be in and out. We're going to be in and out of the rainfall. Concerning the wind impacts, it is going to hinge very strongly on where the center is. Right now, the hurricane center is suggesting that the center is more or less down here. And that shift is significant enough to spare Antigua any wind at all. So what I'm saying is that the expectation that we had because of the location of the system a few hours ago, that repositioning of the center is likely to create the scenario that where the winds would have been for us, there would not be any more if this is the situation, because the winds are only out 35 miles from the center, which is just a half a degree. Okay, so what I'm actually saying, that if the repositioning of 100 miles towards the southwest did actually take place, it means then that the wind impacts will be nudged further away from Antigua, and we would not be necessarily in the wind as we earlier thought. But residents of our Twin Island state should be very mindful that this system is dynamic and it's a very weak system, and it does not necessarily have the closed circulation that like tropical cyclones should have. Now, it is very possible that a closed circulation can show up in time further towards the north. And if it does show up further towards the north, like what is possible, then some of that wind impacts can impact Antigua and Montserrat more than Barbuda going on into the evening. So we still have to be very watchful, because this particular system is now dynamic, and with the fact that it has not, and the fact that it has lost its generic center, has not made it easier for us at all this afternoon.
Hey, so Mr. Josiah, just one final question I want to ask is, not being able to identify the generic center, is it like walking in the dark?
It's like walking in the dark with respect to our guidance. And why? Because these particular systems normally follow the generic center. You understand? So if there's not a generic center, but instead of broad circulation, it means then the generic center can show up where the convection is the strongest. And at this time, because the circulation has practically the system has lost its generic center, has made it a lot difficult for us to track and a lot difficult for us to give a more definite conclusion as to what is likely to take place, because the generic center has been lost. In fact, it has lost its organization. Okay, but residents of our Twin Island state should not rest upon that, because that center can show up in the midst of the convection closer to Antigua later this evening, and with that will come the wind impact. So we have to hunker down until the system is out of our area. We have to be very, very vigilant as to where it's at. I have brought up this particular chart again so that you could see exactly what I'm saying. And let me point it out in a more clearer way. The National Hurricane Center is suggesting that the center as of 5 p.m. this afternoon is 15.9 and 60.7, right in this general location right here. This is where they say that the center is. And it is moving rather rapidly towards the west. Antigua and Barbuda, we're located right here. This location is over 100 miles southeast of us. The winds are only out 35 miles. So we still have another 70-something miles for those winds to get to us. So you're now understanding that that shift where the center was outside here before, they have positioned the center more down here. And as such comes where we were looking at these winds to come across Antigua, they have jogged that away from us. And those winds are more likely to impact Guadeloupe and possibly Montserrat, if this is the true center. If the center reforms someplace out here in the next few hours, then we are looking at the potential for it to come across Antigua and Barbuda and give us some more impacts. That's how dynamic this has gotten. And I am just asking residents of our Twin Island state just to pay attention for the next few hours until this system is out of our area. We can rest, we can rest easier. This is much like last year when we were looking at one of those tropical systems and the center was just not easy to find, or it was a broad circulation. And this is the very same thing that has now happened. And we are now seeing whether or not it will wrap itself up again to give us a more definite center to track. As of 5 p.m., that organization has lost. And we're going to be tracking to see whether or not it reforms.
Okay, Elder Josiah, Brother Josiah, we just want to thank you very much for making the sacrifice and for bringing us the update. As I said earlier, it's to bring us a clean weather report without the distraction of the secular music and ads that we would not expose ourselves to on the Sabbath. And so for our brethren and sisters who are very worried and troubled about what's happening out there with the weather, we're happy that you brought them up to date in this crucial time. So thank you and have a wonderful evening. If we need to connect again, we know how we'll do that. And those who are subscribers will easily be able to get the news and the weather update. Thank you and have a safe and secure evening.
And same to you, my brother, and all of our listeners. God bless.
Okay.